IGRs, insect growth regulators for the control of bedbugs, all on this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek Podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek Podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. I am your host, Frank Hernandez, here every week discussing all things pests. We're going to be discussing IGRs, insect growth regulators, both juvenile hormones and chitin synthesis inhibitors for the control of bedbugs. We're going to find out what works, what doesn't work, and what shows promise. Let's get started with a study. This podcast is loaded with studies. A lot of stuff that I put on here requires a PhD to understand. But the studies are there, and we're going to be getting into a lot of the things that most of the time when we're dealing with insects, we're using mostly pyrethroids, neonicotinoids. That's primarily the use of most pesticides. And they're all work on the neural level. And what we're getting into is stuff that gets down into the DNA of the insect, figuring out which hormones is causing the metamorphosis, identifying those, the DNA, the RNA, and understanding how steroids and things like that work on a different level. And what we're looking at is that to deal with a lot of bugs, I guess, in the next or products that could be coming out for this control deals more with the metamorphosis and stopping it before it becomes an adult versus trying to kill the adult in the case of trying to control a lot of these bugs. And what we're looking at is one study that does just that, which is called the Krupel Homolog 1 and E93 mediate juvenile hormone methoprene regulation of metamorphosis in the common bedbug. Okay, mouthful. But basically what they studied was the regulation of molting and metamorphosis in bedbug with the goal to identify the key players involved. Mainly, the methoprene induces the KRH1 and suppress the E93. Okay, so what it had a dual suppressing of two hormones or two parts of this insect to hope to figure out how it actually and to induce the formation or the nymphal activity in which instar. The data shows interaction between KRH, which is the Krupel Homolog 1, H1 and E93 with the juvenile hormone and the metamorphosis. Okay, to know more about that, it's a very long study of identifying these two components of metamorphosis in bedbug and seeing how the methoprene helped control that process. Okay, so methoprene was effective at making changes to these hormones. Therefore, the possibility of it causing a disruption in the metamorphosis of the insect, going from 4 or 5, 6 nymphal stages to adult, and stopping that before it becomes an adult. Okay. Now, there's another study that I put here, the occurrence of homometabolous pupal stage requires the interaction between E93 and the KRH1. It's another study totally different, but it helps you understand what's happening here with these two components. Okay. Now, is methoprene effective at helping disrupt or interrupt the development of the life cycle of this pest? Yes. Here's the problem. It has to be used at really high dosage, which the label does not support. That's what was found, okay? So in the study, the efficacy of methoprene against bed bugs, a dose of 30 milligrams divided by M2 was shown to interrupt development of susceptible bed bugs in laboratory experiments. The efficacy of methoprene was assessed against both laboratory susceptible strain and field strains of 2 pyrethroids and carbamate insecticides. In the study, the effects of juvenile hormone analog formation, development and reproduction in bed bugs, the results were that at 1x and 2x the label rate of Precor, methoprene, had no significant effect on the development and the ability to produce an abundance of offspring. Now, or growth. At 2x the label rate of Gentrol had no significance, but at 3x to 10x the label rate caused the reduction and impaired development. So yes, it does work. There is studies to show that IGRs help control bed bugs. The problem is you got to use it at 3 to 10 times the label rate that is currently labeled for. There's going to have to either be label changes and look at what is the issue with human and animals in the home that affect at those label rates. Okay. Now, another study on chitin synthesis inhibitor. Remember that methoprene is a juvenile hormone mimic, an analog juvenile hormone mimic. It doesn't damage the chitin. A chitin synthesis inhibitor, levonorone, had a significant effect on fifth instar bed bugs to adult, with a 50%, an AD of 50% malformation and mortality. Here's the problem. It's not available in any label or any active ingredient product for the use on bed bugs. This is what's used in dog chews for veterinary flea control medications. But there is promise that if you can get it EPA approved for the use of bed bugs, then that would be significant because it does damage the chitin. And then another study in juvenile hormone regulation of female reproduction in bed bugs. The studies identified 3 gene codings. This is a study on DNA of the bed bug. We're getting into some serious stuff with bed bugs, and the studies identified 3 gene codings for proteins required for the reproductive success in insects and studied their hormonal regulation. So again, we're getting into hormones, steroids, these type of things to be able. The problem is we don't have any products yet on the market that can deal with this. And in another study, the genome assembly of geospatial phylogenetics of bed bugs. Very interesting stuff if you're into that kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that if you really want to know what's going on in the industry, you read, and if you want to stay ignorant, you just ignore it because you say it's above my pay grade. I believe that you can pretty much get the gist of what's going on by reading it, and I highly suggest you read it. So the development of multifunctional metabolic synergists. Here's another study which was, and this stuff is available to you. The development of multifunctional metabolic synergists to suppress the evolution of resistance against pyrethroids in insects that blood feed on humans. The product 3-phenoxybenzyl hexanate, known as PBH, was synergized as a multifunctional pyrethroid synergist. It's different than PBO, pipernobutoxide. The PBH, what they found was that taking a PBH to permethrin treated females strain resulted in a 3-fold increase in synergism, as judged by synergistic ratio. Similar synergized deltamethrin 6-fold on female common bed bugs, and 2.8-fold synergist on compared to pipernobutoxide. Now, all of these studies and everything I put here has links so that you can go to it. But in the case of this product, PBH, it's available in SteriFab. It's available in Bedlam Plus aerosol, Nigard Plus, and Bedlam insecticide aerosol. So by using the Synergist, it increases the activity in these products of pyrethroids and pyrethrum in some of these cases, and in the case of SteriFab, which is a totally different product in itself, does that. And so these are products that are available that show that this increases the synergistic ratio of these products. So guys, I hope this podcast has been helpful to you. Hey, if it has, do me a favor, wherever you find it, stop right there for us and give us a review. Give us a 5-star. If it's great and if it sucks, just keep it to yourself, all right? Until next time, you have a great one.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.